Hey, Veronica, how's it going?
Hi, John. What's up?
Not much, not much. Ready to record this episode about Joker Folie Deux.
Uh-huh.
Hey, before we start, I have a message I want to say to all our listeners.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, fuck you. I hate you. You're stupid. You're stupid for liking this podcast, and I hate you. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, do you also
Yeah, I think what you believe in usually sucks and your taste is kind of bad. So if you like our podcast, why? You're idiots. Like go shoot yourself in the head or stab yourself or kill yourself. I don't like you.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, we don't actually mean this. This is obviously actually a joke on the kind of style of Joker Folie Deux and how it seems to hate its own fans. That being said, I don't think our fans are smart enough to get that, because I think they're fucking stupid, which is why I'm explaining it.
Yeah, like I feel like, do we need to even like paint a diagram for you dumb dummies? Come on.
Maybe we won't even do the episode. Maybe we're just gonna whisper sing for 3 fucking hours.
Yeah, maybe anytime we like approach an interesting idea, we're just gonna not touch it. Just because you're not gonna get it.
Yeah, just cut to like blank space.
So this is gonna be fun. To stay tuned.
Anyway, here's our opening tune. Box office time machine.
Time machine. I'm Lady Gaga. That's my Lady Gaga. Okay, this was messy.
Let's play the actual theme. Toot toot.
Toot toot. That one, I think.
I
with
thought
the
that
assistance of filters. Yes.
I thought your voice sounded beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I guess Lady Gaga sounded okay. Let's not spoil our thoughts on the Joker anymore.
Yeah, because I'm sure everyone clicking onto this episode about our thoughts on Joker 2 is going to be really shocked about what we think. You know what? I'll shock you right off the bat. I liked it more than Joker 1. But to be fair, Joker 1 is one of my least favorite movies of all time, so congrats.
I think I liked it slightly less than Joker 1. And I don't have the ire you have for either of them. I just I don't care. They're not good, but I don't find anything that irritating about them, I guess.
Well, now that we've set up this amazing debate between hate and ambivalence, let's introduce ourselves. I'm John.
It's not even ambivalence. It's like, hi, I'm Veronica.
I feel like is the ambivalent noise.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, you're right. I feel like ambivalence portrays more emotion than I have. It's not that I have strong feelings towards either. It's more that I really don't have any sort of energy for this movie.
Okay, well, I will work up some energy and some strong feelings. So don't worry, listener. You are listening to Box Office Time Machine, the show where we watch the number one movie at the box office, either from the past or present. We are watching the current number one movie at the box office. Boy, number one. They should be really happy, right, Veronica?
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things when, sometimes you see a stat on Twitter and you find it like compelling, enraging, or like joy inducing, and then someone introduces like a context like thing where it was like, because in a vacuum saying, oh, this movie opened to $40 million in a year where box office has been very weak and lackluster, it would be like, oh, great, the movies are back. And then you read that the original, I think, made 120, 150.
In its open weekend.
It's in its opening weekend, and this one is unlikely to get 150 domestically. It's definitely, it's sobering.
Yeah, I always find it amusing when on this show we do a movie that is number one but is still a massive bomb. You're Argyles, as it were. Yeah. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, this movie made domestically. It tapped out, I think, around like 37. I know Warner Brothers had said 40 midway through the weekend, and then the actuals were lower, placing it domestically below the opening weekend gross of Morbius. Mega hit Morbius.
That is pretty wild, because I assumed no one saw this movie. Morbius. Maybe because when I went to a theater, that theater was entirely empty. But that's pretty damning.
It is damning when you consider that this movie is a direct sequel with the full same creative team to a massive $1 billion hit. A movie that held the record for the highest grossing R-rated film of all time until equally excellent movie Deadpool 3 took it away. But more importantly, this movie, Joker Folie Deux, cost around $200 million to make by all accounts.
That's wild.
Here's the amazing thing, Veronica, $200 million. Now you might say, oh, clearly, Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Phillips, and Lady Gaga were taking huge paychecks. That's got to be the reason it got up there. And yes, they did get huge paychecks, but from what I'm gathering, from what I'm reading, their paychecks combined only cost about $50 million. So,
where did all
Veronica,
the money go?
Where did the money go?
Sorry, this movie is basically Todd Phillips' version of the movie Glass. I am looking up it. For the majority of it, it has basically a single set of prison. It is astounding to me that it cost this much and most of it did not go to the actors.
I'll say this much.
Looking up.
Here in real life, I am currently trying to produce a short film.
20 million. Sorry, Glass cost 20 million. That's a tenth. And it had Bruce Willis. It had Samuel L. Jackson.
Had Bruce Willis.
Well, sort of. And James McAvoy.
And Sarah Paulson.
And Sarah Paulson.
And Anya Taylor-Joy, I think.
Yeah, and the Philadelphia Tower.
Yeah, the tallest building in Philadelphia, which we saw images of a couple of times. But yeah, in real life, I am trying to produce a short film, and I'm trying to make it cost as little as possible. So my script has, I should only have one, but like as few locations as possible. I think my short film script may have more locations than the $200 million movie Joker Folie Deux.
I mean, unless they had to actually film on Rikers Island and relocate all the prisoners held at Rikers Island for the duration of the film shoot, I fail to see how. You know what? Something is amiss. I feel like someone is pocketing $50 million.
Well, I'll tell you who it is. It's the rights holders to every song from the 60s and 70s, which has the word Joker, smile, or clown in the title. Clearly,
yeah, do you think the estate of Irving Berlin or whatever is
is
riding high?
Don't know. All right. Quick rundown. Because literally, it will be quick because nothing happens in this movie. Arthur Fleck, our beloved hero from the previous film, is in prison. What with all the shooting of people. And he's in prison, and he's sad, because he's a sad man, if you remember. And he meets a lady, Harley Quinn Lee, in this movie. He meets her in a singing class that Brendan Gleeson takes him to as a prank. I don't know. He's a security guard. I have
notes about that.
They fall in love, I guess. Maybe she's manipulating him, and maybe she isn't. Either way, she gives bad legal advice. He fires his lawyer, Catherine Keener, who's trying to mount an insanity defense. He goes on trial, fires his lawyer, becomes the Joker in trial. People don't like that. Deep asterisk I want to discuss. And then he says, I take it back. I'm not the Joker. Then the courthouse blows up. And then he goes outside and he meets some of his fans, and they suck. So he runs away. And then Harley Quinn says, I don't like you anymore. And then he, spoilers, gets stabbed to death. That's the entire movie.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Yeah, that is true. So, yeah. So, John, you referenced to it being boring.
And yes.
I definitely agree. But I also just kind of wonder what Todd Phillips was thinking, you know? And I don't mean that necessarily in a pejorative way of what he was thinking, but rather what was his goal with this movie. Because I actually personally don't buy the idea that he hates the fan base and wants to say a fuck you to the fan base. I actually think he does want to say something with this movie. I'm just not entirely sure what that is. I maybe have a theory, but yeah, I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Okay. I think I am leaning more towards the kind of hating the fans purview. I'll tell you why. I do have an interview that just came out a few hours ago with IGN did an interview with both Todd Phillips.
I was going to reference that interview too.
And Joaquin Phoenix, because it's hilarious how basically, as this movie is going to be a historic disaster. The blame game is going on right now, and basically, is it Todd Phillips' fault or Joaquin Phoenix's fault? And you got a lot of interviews with people being like, Todd Phillips just he didn't want to do test screenings because he felt so strongly. And then you'll have other interviews where like Todd Phillips is like, Joaquin Phoenix came up with the plot in a dream. It's his fault, implied. But in this interview, the person from IGN keeps trying to ask leading questions to lead them to saying, yes, this is about the toxic fans. And they keep basically saying, yeah, but demurring at the last time and be like, yeah, it's about how the people didn't wanted stuff from him that wasn't really him. Should I read this whole interview? It's not that interesting.
No. There's a quote from it I want to read, but it's kind of not super related to what you want to say.
Here's what I think this movie is. I was trying to think of a comparison, and the best recent comparison I can think of is actually, previously I was comparing it to the book Dune Messiah, where Frank Herbert wrote the book. Wait, which is a father, which is a son? Brian Herbert's the son, right?
I have no idea. I only know Chalamet.
Where the author of Dune, Mr. Herbert.
I don't know anything about the Dune books, said another way.
He wrote the first Dune, and a lot of people seem to not understand that Paul Atreides not really a courageous hero. What with all the leading, purposefully starting a war that he knows will kill billions of people. Not a great guy. So he writes a book, Dune Messiah, which kind of corrects and is like underlines like, no, he fucked up. And I was going to compare it to that, but I think a better, more modern comparison is, do you know the stand-up comic Matt Rife?
Oh, the guy with the rape jokes, or not the rape jokes, the assault jokes. Yeah, I know what you're referring to, but yeah, please explain to those who don't.
So Matt Rife, I'm not that familiar with his comedy, but basically there's a big to-do, I guess, last year when he had his first big special. Matt Rife is a young stand-up comedian, handsome-looking guy who had gotten big on TikTok primarily with a young, like, female teenage fan base. And clearly...
Because he's very cute, apparently.
Yeah, clearly, he did not like that his fan base was primarily 15-year-old girls. He clearly thought that wasn't cool. That wouldn't make the big dogs at the Comedy Cellar, like, respect him or whatever. So he does this whole stand-up routine, basically telling... Not the whole thing, but there's a lot of jokes right up at the top, kind of purposefully antagonizing young girls. A bunch of jokes about, like, assault or jokes that people claim were misogynistic. I haven't seen it. Whatever.
I heard the joke. It's like, okay. But yeah, it is definitely just kind of insulting if that's not your thing.
But he also, like, he gave interviews. It was clear... like that he didn't want that fan base anymore. He wanted the cool fan base. And what ended up happening with that special is he antagonized and pushed away his current fan base, the fan base that made him famous. And then the other fan base, the fan base he wanted, went, yeah, cool, we still don't like you. We didn't like you to begin with because you weren't our thing. I don't know why you thought we would suddenly like you because you pissed off those people. And that's really what I think this movie is. I think whether it's Phillips or Phoenix, I think they realized that the spell was wearing off, as it always was going to. People had realized that the Emperor had no clothing when it came to Joker 1. And that Joker 1 would go down as in history as, hey, remember that time that stupid incel comic book movie won Oscars? That was weird. And that was going to be it. And it would be the Boondock Saints of 2019. And they wanted to change that. And they wanted to seem cool again by purposely going, no, shame on you, incel fan base. We actually don't like you. And so they made purposefully the anti-movie, a movie that is antithetical to everything those people wanted. And they basically ended up with this. And I more to say on all that and their techniques of doing that. But I want to hear, so you think that's not what this is?
I find it hard to believe that it is because a few things. First of all, I don't think Todd Phillips, just based on Todd Phillips is not some sort of a dark auteur who necessarily like cares about like that critical I guess, like, part of the audience that he would cater to them. Because he's the guy who made The Hangover old school. I think he made, like, School for Scoundrels, Due Date. Like, or not Due Date. Due Date. The one with Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. Anyway, most of these movies, I really enjoy them. They're silly. But it doesn't seem like he is the type of guy who needs, like, that critical approval. I think so. It just doesn't feel right to me that he would create a whole movie just shitting on the perceived fan base of the previous movie. It doesn't seem like a thing that he should, in theory, really care about. I'm not necessarily saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that it feels like a very weird thing to be making a movie about for someone of his stature. This is not like in the Matt Rife comparison. This is not some like young upstart who like got his, start with a fan base that he didn't necessarily want. This is a guy who was already a pre-established entity. You kind of knew who it was. Joker itself was sort of, I guess, like his way of stepping out of those Brat Pack comedies. So I just find it kind of hard to believe that he would care so much about that he would do that. I also, and maybe this is the fault of the movie itself, I don't think it's coherent enough. There is a movie here that he could make that would be that, but I feel like this movie is not coherent enough on any level to be that deliberate about it. So that's another thing. Also, a third thing, I think the whole, like, the Joker is a rallying cry for incels is a bit of a thing that was really present with only determinally online people. Like, this is not something that I think most people who went and enjoyed the Joker thought of or even considered. I randomly went to a hair salon, had a lovely woman in probably her 40s cut my hair. And I was like, well, what are you doing after this? And she's like, well, like tomorrow my friend and I were going to go and see the Joker. We really enjoyed the first one. These are not incel ladies. These are just women who enjoyed the movie and they're going to see this one.
That's what you think. They're secretly going on to 4chan the moment you leave the salon.
I don't think this is true. I feel like to be honest, this is very much a personal preference, but judging a movie based on the people that it appeals to does not seem fair to me. This is sort of like kind of the same thing that happened with Fight Club. It's like, yeah, a lot of people who like Fight Club don't understand that it's a satire. Fine, but that doesn't mean the movie is bad. And so... yeah, so I guess this is kind of my way of saying that I still am not convinced that this is why this movie is the way that it is.
Okay, I think at some point we have to slightly relitigate Joker 2019, which is fair because that's all that Joker 2 does. So I don't actually think that Joker 1 was a rallying cry for incels. I certainly don't think it was intentionally. When you look at the interviews when that movie came out, all Todd Phillips seemed passionate about was complaining about how cancel culture had ruined his ability to make silly comedies, that no one wanted to make the comedies he liked anymore. And that's what he was pissed off about. I think the only thing in Joker 1 that he was passionate about was that monologue that he gives right before shooting Robert De Niro, which people forget is mostly randomly a monologue about cancel culture, which is not what anything else in the movie about. He's just suddenly like, and by the way, you can't say the jokes you want to say anymore. Okay, Arthur, when was that your problem? One of the many issues with Joker 1 I think my main problem with that movie is that it has nothing to say. It steals it cloaks itself in the skin of better movies that had actual observations.
I don't think that's true. I think it has something to say. Whether it did it well, I don't know. But I would argue it has a point of view and it has, it has something that it wants to say, and I feel like it does convey it fairly clearly. I disagree. I think the movie, and we talked about this, I'm sure, in that episode. I think the movie repeatedly brings up points that could lead to some kind of thesis, but then cowardly steps back from them. Every time it brings up something like, our social services are bad, it then will also have the therapist be shitty at her job anyway. Anytime it's a class thing. Yeah, but all the poor people are crazy anyway. It won't actually just say anything. And what you're left with at the end is just, hey, it's fun when the whole world says fuck you and then you just turn around and say fuck you right back. It's basically Break Stuff, the Limp Bizkit song, as a movie. That's the only coherent message at the end, which is why I think so many people in the fan base are so upset now, because this movie is very much saying fuck stuff to people is wrong and it just hurts people. And I do think that Todd Phillips and maybe Joaquin Phoenix are maybe they don't want to be they don't care about being critical darlings, but I do think they care about being on the side of cool. And I think they realized
a lot of the folks who were their biggest champions were not cool. I'm not saying they were scary, like mass murderers, but they were the kind of people you don't want to have dinner with.
Again, I don't know if I necessarily buy that, because exactly like from your argument, you say that his big problem was that he can't do his stupid movies anymore because, the cool kids don't find his comedies funny anymore. So why even try appealing to those people if those are the people that he doesn't really trust or he doesn't really hope to impress? So I find that so that's one thing. The second thing is that I think the Joker in my opinion, what the Joker was trying to convey, and what I think is like fairly effective about this movie too, is the idea of like how like marginalized men like could be driven to do crazy shit like this. And I think I feel like now it's not really de rigueur to do movies about, problems of white men or whatever, because it's like, oh, all the privilege and whatever. But it is a real thing in our society that mass shooters become mass shooters usually because of the way that they've been treated to some extent by society. And it is, I think what it is trying to kind of convey is sort of the very, what's the word I'm looking for? But basically how easily it is for us to ignore people like Arthur Fleck and marginalize them to the point that they explode. And I don't think that movie necessarily does anything interesting with it once it happens. I don't think it actually takes the current movie to any interesting places. But I think that is sort of the point. It's like, this man is a sad, pathetic man. And we, as a society, like led to them to get to the point where they're willing to do something as drastic as turning into a Joker to get noticed. And I think he does pretty well in that regard.
All right. Made me saying it has nothing to say is maybe that's like unfair. I don't think the filmmaker is passionate about that. I will say at the end of the day, yeah, that's this thing that comes across, and clearly that's the story that a lot of the super cool Joker fan base latched onto. But I don't think it does that story well. First off, you're going to tell a story about radicalization and set it in a pre-internet time. What the fuck's the point? Like, this is not a serious movie. I think that's also not. It's like saying Mad Men should not be set in the 60s because it comments on all the stuff that is wrong with our society today. I mean, sometimes setting art in a different time gives you kind of that remove that allows you to observe things more objectively. I disagree that is a bad choice. Well, no, I get that, but it's like when, like, say Robert Eggers takes a movie that's set in the past and shows how people are like blindly follow religious or social beliefs that we now find ridiculous. We can extrapolate the idea like, oh, what ridiculous things do we follow in the present day? Because those are movies that actually are communicating their themes successfully. I think. And I don't want to get this all about Joker 1, but I think people at the time, certainly and still, are way too charitable about what that movie was saying. It was a hodgepodge of stuff, and the stuff that hit clearly was not the stuff that the filmmakers were really even that interested in, which is why we get this sequel. And I do think this sequel actually succeeds at what it's saying. What it's saying is, hey, Arthur Fleck is not a cool criminal mastermind. He's a pathetic, mentally ill loser who pulled out a gun and shot people. And if you do the same, you're just as pathetic as he is, and you're nothing but a sad sack of shit. Like, that's what it's saying. And I think it definitely communicates that well, which is why it's pissed off its fan base so much. Its fan base who wants to see the Joker as cool. But the movie still fails because it's horrendously boring, and
that we can both agree on. I have no qualms on that.
So, okay, so we disagree on what the first one was saying, or, whatever. We both don't really like it, but we disagree about whether it had anything to say. What do you think this second movie is trying to say?
No, I think I agree with what you said. I think its whole thing is that, like, look, this is a pathetic man, and what he did was wrong, like, very simplistically. And look, he's going to continue to be pathetic. And you, by hanging your hopes and dreams on him, are going to be not any less unhinged than he is. My problem with this movie is that, as you say, like, it has no interesting way of executing these ideas. And, like, the musical thing aside that we can kind of talk about, I know that you probably have more thoughts about it than I do. I just found, like, all of it to be very boring. But I think the thing that struck me the most about this movie is how uninterested it is in doing anything that would actually cohere into a compelling story. Because obviously you can do compelling stuff with hateful and hateable characters. Like, those are usually the most interesting things that you can do. But here, there's all these ideas that it kind of touches on, and some of them I did find quite interesting. I am interested in the idea of the Lady Gaga Harley Quinn character basically building up this man in her head that doesn't really exist, and him struggling between the need to perform for her and sort of distance himself from something that is actively making him sick. We don't really see that. There's like a single scene where we sort of realize that she's actually mentally unhinged, and she sees him as a joker. She lied her way to get into the mental asylum just to meet him. She's this weird fangirl, but we don't really see anything about her obsession in any way, except for when she decides very abruptly to stop being his fangirl once he confesses that he's not the Joker. On a similar line, in the end of the movie, as you referenced, when his fanboys rescue him from the courthouse and he realizes what crazies they are and he wants to escape them, that is very interesting. Like, you can have a full movie about, like, I inadvertently became a hero to the wrong people for a cause that I never wanted to support. All of that, I think, is very interesting. This movie is not interested in any of those things. This movie is basically interested in making you feel as miserable as possible in this confined prison. And this is not Michael Haneke. It just feels like weird that this was made the way that it was, I guess.
Yeah, I think everything you described is the genuinely good version of this movie. You're right. The stuff about him being a figurehead to people who are just as lost as he is, when he really has nothing to offer, and they are building up a fake version. That's interesting. Whatever's going on with the Lady Gaga character could be interesting. I'd argue we don't see enough to really have any idea what her fucking deal is. All of that could be interesting. There's a version of this movie where we get to see the chaos that is building in the city, where maybe he breaks out earlier like we see, like you said, a whole movie of him being trapped by these fanboys who he is genuinely frightened of. Like, that's a very interesting, spin on the Batman villain, the Batman villain mythos, where you have these henchmen and these criminal masterminds who Joker will just shoot one of his henchmen dead for no reason, and the other guys will go, yes, sir, yes, sir. Instead we have this thing where he's terrified of them. Instead of Harley being a pathetically obsessed with him, we kind of have the opposite. That is all interesting, but I think at the end of the day, they made some decision, and it feels like self-flagellation, or it feels like genuine antipathy towards the fan base, but they made a decision that we are not going to do anything entertaining. Any plot point that we come up with that is even slightly in danger of being fun or interesting, we are going to shut it the fuck down. And
that is so bizarre. This is not like dogma filmmaking, This is, you know what I mean? This is a $200 million movie from Warner Brothers. Like, this is not, like, how is he allowed to do this? Like, and I'm not even saying that outrageously. I'm almost impressed. Like, it is in some ways, like, art. Like, what he did is like, I'm gonna get $200 million from one of the biggest studios in the world, and I'm gonna make an intentionally antagonistic movie. Like, it's a vibe. I'm just like, I would love, maybe in a few years we'll get like an oral history of this, but I'm so curious, like, what did Zaslav think? What did, what's his face? Like, the guy who runs Warner Brothers now thinks. Like, Mike DeLuca, I think his name is. Like, what are, like, I want some Slacks. I want some email threads. I want to understand, like, at what point they realized what it was and to what extent they could intervene and they didn't, or they couldn't intervene and were rebuffed because Todd Phillips has Final Cut or whatever it is. I'm just fascinated by this.
It seems very much like in the whatever deal they made after the first one, whatever deal they made to get them to come back, they gave them complete final say on everything, and that they refused to, like, they even said that their interviews where they're like, they didn't want to have it premiere in Venice. And because they clearly realized, this is a bad movie people are not going to like. And if
why did it happen?
If you premiere at the Venice Film Festival, you're going to have all the bad reviews. Then there will be a month of people realizing what it is. But
yes.
Their deal with Todd Phillips said he demanded it premiere there because it won there. The first one won, so they had to do it. So clearly there were people at Warner Brothers who were like, this is not the direction we can go. And they were contractually didn't have the ability to stop them, which is insane.
This has to be like, there has to be a contract clause where it's like, we take away your final cut and we pay you X amount of money. I feel like it would have been a good deal. Like, I think there could be, well, I guess, no, I don't know. I don't want to be that optimistic, but I feel like this movie could be edited in a certain way to make what we see more exciting. Maybe. I mean, they could potentially just edit the musical scenes to be more exciting.
Let's jump on there, because I think that's the big thing. You could have this miserablest thing where he's stuck in the courtroom the whole time. What you need to do then is make the musical sequences fun. But I think the problem here, again, what happened was the whole idea of the musical sequences is clearly like Todd Phillips going, well, what's the most bullshit? What is like the thing that most signifies delusion? And because he doesn't have original ideas, he goes with like the singing detective idea of, we'll do musical numbers. But he clearly does not like musicals and has no interest in making one. There's a version of this movie where the musical numbers are great and exciting, and it's a full original musical with these great songs, and you have exciting choreography, and there are 2 songs in this movie. I forget what they were because they all kind of blend together, but there were 2 songs where we see what this could have been. The first is like the first time Joker sings, where he dances around all the prisoners in the insane asylum, and then they start like kind of playing invisible instruments, and that's like a good like, okay, we're building the insanity, we're getting into the musical world. It should have been a straight escalating line from there. Each new song was more of a big musical extravaganza until by the end we're doing fucking Bugsby Berkeley clowns diving into water doing synchronized swimming. Like, that's what it should have been. And I think there could have been an interesting movie there. But instead, you have the counterpoint to the miserable stuff be just as fucking miserable as the miserable stuff. So it's just boring.
It's also just, I don't, like, again, I don't want to, like, you assign, like, intent like that. I don't know that he doesn't like musicals. Maybe he likes them but just doesn't know how to direct them. He never has. So maybe it is one of those things that in theory he was like, oh, this is cool. But then he couldn't execute on it. The example that I actually thought of was Chicago, because it's literally set in a prison. And the way that the numbers are set up are fantasies. And so what it does very interestingly that I think the Joker was trying to also emulate here is that they like Roxy Hart, Renee Zellweger, doesn't sing well, like not in her fantasy. And then when she is in the musical number, she actually sings way better. But he can't really accomplish that. Lady Gaga sort of does it because she kind of whisper sings when it's just like it's not in the musical world. And then she belts stuff when she is. But Joaquin Phoenix can't carry that. So I feel like even that attempt to do it doesn't really work because I don't think he's a good partner for her when it comes to musicality, you know, because like there's no doubt that Lady Gaga would have done whatever she would have been told, like musically, like she can do it, she has done it. So it's like I feel like it was maybe the reluctance of Joaquin Phoenix to go all the way with that, and because he kind of just like, I don't know, he kind of like growls through a lot of the songs, but yeah, he doesn't really seem to be super into it. So it was just like, why do it if no one wants to commit to it?
Yeah, I mean, we will probably never know why these choices were made. Whatever the case is, the musical sequences don't work. And it's kind of the opposite problem of the previously mentioned big 2024 disaster, Argylle, where in that episode we talked about that's a story that needs to have a hard, definitive line between reality and the spy fiction world. And eventually they can blend together. But at the beginning, the line has to be completely solid. And in that movie, it fails because the real world is just as ridiculous as the fictional world. So it doesn't work. Meanwhile, in this movie, you have the real world and the fantasy both being boring and miserable. So what is the fucking point?
Yeah. No, it's exactly right. I really don't understand the intention in many of these. And also just, at first, I didn't even really notice it, but eventually I was like, these are not well filmed numbers. They're not dynamic in any way. Not that I expected like Steven Spielberg directing West Side Story, but I don't know. I expected the camera to have more of an opinion. It felt like there was a lot of just like statically like standing around and singing, or like people being framed in weird ways as opposed to, I don't know, just like the very playful way that I think cameras could move in musical numbers. And I feel like there wasn't really much of that either.
The things that make musical filmmaking fun are just not present. And I'll say this, for the first like 40 minutes, I was on board because it felt, you know, I wasn't loving it, but I was like, okay, I see where this is going. And we have that kind of first big musical number where I'm like, great. We're going to build from here. But we never do. Nearly every other musical is just like in a black void whispering. And it's not interesting. And then you get to that last hour, which is just the world's dullest episode of Law and Order. And it's like, what are we fucking doing?
Yeah, I feel like I don't need to know the minutiae of like law to have those explained to me. It's like, yeah, he totally can represent himself. Who cares? Like, move on. Like, this is not the point. But yeah, it was pretty boring. I want to read to you a quote.
Okay.
This is a quote from Todd Phillips from the same IGN interview. Let me find it. Okay. So, and I think this is kind of him explaining things, but in a way that annoys me slightly. Okay. So this is on the fact that Arthur is not actually the Joker that we know from movies or past lore. And I will preface this by saying that I think it's totally fair to do whatever the fuck you want with these characters. That's what makes comic books interesting, is that anyone can bring their own interpretation to it. But so here's what he says. One of the things that people never understood about the first movie was, I don't get it. He visits Bruce Wayne and he's 30 years older than Bruce Wayne. What kind of a geriatric Joker is going to fight in the future? I don't know if you ever saw the script for the first movie. Should not be an expectation on the fans to see the script for the first movie. The first film is called Joker. It's not called The Joker. It's called Joker. And the first film under the script always said an origin story. I think he means the line. It never says the origin story. It was this idea that maybe this isn't the Joker. Maybe this is an inspiration for the Joker. So in essence, at the end of the movie, when the thing you're left with was, wait, is that thing happening behind him? Is that the guy? So I find this sort of nitpicking in retrospect so annoying personally. It's like, well, we said we didn't say so this is totally like fair. I don't know, it just seems so odd because I think this is a choice. Just own your fucking choice. I think it is quite interesting again to be like, oh, this is actually not the story of the Joker you thought you were watching. It's fine, but I don't think you should be then shitting on the fans because they didn't realize that there was what is it called? Like not a proper noun. Basically what type of words are those? A definitive article in front of something, and you didn't know that the tagline for the movie was such or whatever. It is so like, I don't know. This is just like a general note of like, this is annoying. Filmmakers should stop doing this. Like, own up to what you did.
Well, that kind of makes me think that he kind of not misinterpreted, but like misunderstood like the canon he was working with and what the images mean. Like the end of the first Joker does have that thing where we see one of the clowns from the riot. It's been 5 years now. I think this is right. A guy wearing a clown mask following the Waynes into an alleyway where we assume will be the shooting that introduces will one day create Batman. And that feels more like a kind of inversion of the traditional idea of the Batman led to the creation of the Joker. In a lot of comic books, we see that idea that Batman led to an escalation of the villains until we go from regular mobsters to the Joker. And in here we get an inversion where the Joker's craziness leads to the creation of Batman. And that makes me think that Todd Phillips always thought like, oh, the Joker's the one who kills Batman's parents. But that was
maybe because he watched Tim Burton's.
Yes, that's only ever been in one instance of the story. But maybe that is what he thought. And so he was like, why didn't you guys get it? wait, the Joker doesn't usually do that? But this time he's very clear about the Joker. And I'll say, I like the last scene of this movie, but I like it as the last scene of a story that's not in this film. Because you can't simultaneously be telling a story where the message is there is no criminal mastermind. Any person like the Joker in real life is just a pathetic loser. And then simultaneously be telling a story about, but the actual criminal mastermind standing right behind him.
No, that's very true. I think that like this movie kind of wants to, have its cake and eat it too kind of thing. It's like it has all these ideas that he thinks are cool, and some of them are cool in isolation. Some of them could be cool together, but it never actually chooses to follow through on any of them. So we just get like hints of those ideas while we're being stuck in a fucking Rikers person. I guess Arkham Asylum. Sorry.
You want to know my favorite part of the movie? My favorite part of the movie was when the judge is like, I will not let you make a mockery of my courtroom. This is very serious. Oh, you want to dress like a clown? Have at it.
I mean, I kind of referenced it before, but when they kind of made a fuss about him representing himself, I was like, have you not been watching the proceedings? Is this the thing that bothers you the most? I will say, if we can note small things that we liked about the movie, I liked a lot of the casting. I don't know that, again, they did much with it, but maybe Steve Coogan I thought was really good. Yeah. He's in one scene, and I think he is very effective. Catherine Keener should have gotten more to do. We rarely get to see her anymore, and I think she's great. And Brendan Gleeson should have also done more. He seems like of every character a middle-aged man gets at a certain point, the sort of the I feel like he's better than this, He's Mad-Eye Moody.
I have a question for you. A trigger warning, I guess.
What?
Did you interpret it that the guards gang raped Arthur Fleck in the shower?
I think so. I think it is sort of implied that that's what they do.
Totally did not see that when I came out and people were like, it's the movie where Arthur gets the Joker raped out of him. I was like, what? Because, in my mind, they threw him into the shower because they were going to wash the clown makeup on him, and they were clearly going to beat him up. But,
I think it's also just implied in, other instances with him where it feels like they do abuse him. And I think, in that shower scene, I sort of got... Because they strip him, too.
Yeah, for the shower.
I feel like if you are a very careless guard, which those people clearly are, they don't give a shit about him. I don't know that they would be like, oh no, we got to keep your clothes dry while we forcefully wash makeup off of you.
Well, most people interpret it that way. I think that, but in my thinking, they want to take the suit off because he feels good in the suit. So they want to strip him because their whole thing is showing him how weak he actually is. I guess my thing is the next scene is that young prisoner gets choked to death, which appear in Arthur's mind is clearly his fault. So we already have the reason why he suddenly realizes he's made a mistake.
Yeah,
so why do we need him to be
gang
rape? Why would you put that in the movie if it's basically completely inessential to the plot?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have super strong feelings about it being rape or not. That's what I thought happened. But yeah, no, you're right.
Well, no, I mean, the more enough people are confidently saying yeah, that's what happened, where I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I don't want to dig into the actual frames and look for visual clues.
Oh God, don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Todd Phillips will issue another interview. It's like, well, actually, did you see it happen?
Yes.
It is very clearly.
I think everyone should have cleared. He was clearly being raped into Mr. Freeze. That's what was happening. He was cold in the water. It's clear. Fans didn't get it.
All right. Well, is there more that we want to say? I feel like we said a lot of things.
I meant to come up with a game for today's show. And maybe I did while we were talking, but because it was while we were talking, it may not be very good. So we're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it goes. Veronica, you are a music fan, correct?
I enjoy the musical arts.
Okay. I am going... we have been put in charge of making the next Joker sequel. Obviously, Arthur cannot be in it. He's been stabbed to death, so no Joker. But we are keeping the part of Joker 2 that really works. Bad jukebox musical of overly obvious song choices. So I am going to present to you with some classic Batman villains, and I want you to tell me what incredibly overly obvious song will be in Joker 3 for them to sing, and then please present your answer in a difficult to listen to whisper growl.
Oh my God, this is so challenging.
I know, that might be the problem. This might be too hard, but we're going to give it a try. All right, Veronica. For Joker Menage a Trois,
is that what it's
in the
called?
Series. Yep, that's what we're calling it. The movie is, the villain is going to be Mr. Freeze. What song will you be putting in it?
You're as cold as ice. Something sacrifice.
Perfect.
Is that good? This is good.
That movie has lost. $700 million. But don't worry, we've been put in charge of its sequel, Joker Quatre. Do you know any French expressions with quatre in it?
Isn't it like quatre coupe? Something?
Quatre coupe. And this stars, of course, very exciting. This one will feature the great Batman villain, Poison Ivy. What song will she be singing? She is the mistress of plants.
The mistress of plants? Well, could it be Poison Ivy, yeah, yeah. Poison Ivy, yeah, yeah. Do, 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 do. The problem is I don't remember any of the other lyrics.
I don't even know what that song is.
I think it's a Jackson 5 song. There's literally a song called Poison Ivy.
Fair enough. Okay. Great. Next, we're going to do.
Oh boy.
We're doing the next sequel. So the Poison Ivy movie unfortunately lost $8 trillion.
And we're still making more of these.
I think we're turning the franchise around. We're making Joker.
The Poison Ivy song was good.
Yep. This next one is called Joker Sink or Swim. The word sink, of course, is spelled CINQ for the French word for 5.
Sunk or swim.
And because we're using water, this one will be featuring the big frightening Batman villain, Killer Croc, the giant man with a skin condition that makes him look like a crocodile. But in our telling, he will also be very sad and depressed. So, what song will he sing in his crocodile sadness?
Okay. Soy un perdedor. I'm a loser, baby. So why won't you kill me?
That's good. I'm surprised you didn't go for the more obvious choice, which I would have done. I remember when Rock was young.
Oh,
Me
that's
and
a good
Susie
one.
had so much fun holding hands and skipping stones. Had an old gold Chevy and a place of my own. I'm smoking a cigarette very slowly. But the biggest kick I ever got was doing a thing called the Crocodile Rock. And then the strings go. Very exciting.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
All right, bad news. Bad news. That movie did lose all the money in the world, but that's okay. The planet Earth has moved on to a bartering system now.
Oh, wow.
And so we're making another movie. This is called Joker 6 because 6 in French is also just 6. I imagine it's pronounced differently. And the villain for this one, you'll love to hear. Ooh, boy. This is going to be the last one we're making. This one is about everyone's favorite, Catwoman. It's about time. Catwoman, the famous slinky cat burglar. She's sexy. She's cool. But, of course, because it's the Joker franchise, in this one, she will actually be, I imagine, I don't know, dying of an eating disorder. While living in a basement she never leaves. But she sings songs as Catwoman. So what do you think she's going to sing?
Well, the only thing that's in my mind is memories all alone in the moonlight.
Yes, she will be singing the classic song from Cats. And also, it'll just be that one song from Cats, Memories, and then every other song is just a track from the Pussycat Dolls. And you're just going to have to know that that's who originated those songs. But
Apparently, oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's the rest of the Joker franchise. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. I thought you were going to give me Bane. I was ready with like Johnny Cash's Hurt.
Wait, hold up. I just heard from Warner Brothers that they've just announced Joker Sept. Do you speak French? I don't speak French.
No, I think it is 7.
Yeah, Sept. I'm trying to think of a play on words involving the word sept.
Intercept.
Yeah, it's called Joker Intercept, and it's about Bane. Bane, of course, is the Batman villain. He's a giant man with incredible strength because he has the toxin that makes him super powerful, but he's also brilliant. And he wears a luchador mask traditionally in the comics. But in our version, in the Joker franchise, he is strong, but that's just because he has a terrible physical condition where he's too big for his bones. He's like the guy from My Giant. And he's going to tragically die soon. And he thinks he's smart, but no one can hear him through the mask. But we can hear him when he sings. And what's he going to sing?
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real, The needle tears a hole. The all familiar, I don't remember the word, try to kick it all away, but I remember everything, Batman.
You know, I remember a famous interview where I believe it was Trent Reznor said that song now belongs to Johnny Cash because obviously it was a Nine Inch Nails song, but Johnny Cash did his famous cover, and Trent Reznor said the cover was so good that it's now should be thought of as a Johnny Cash song. And I think today we've learned actually that song belongs to Bane as performed by Veronica Urofsky.
Oh boy. Those are big shoes to fill. But I will take this honorific for sure.
Yeah, specifically Bane shoes are very big.
Yeah, the Bane shoes are big and they're painful.
Well, unfortunately, the opening weekend box office numbers just came in. Obviously, we've already run out of all the money on Earth, and we've moved on to the bartering system. But unfortunately, we bartered every physical piece of matter on planet Earth and spent it on Joker Intercept.
Those movies have to keep coming. That's all the world has.
We've lost everything. There is no more matter left on the planet Earth. It is just a void. And in that void...
And DVDs of the Joker.
It's just a void. It's just a blank, black space. Except for one thing. If you look closely through the blackness, you can see Joaquin Phoenix dramatically smoking a cigarette. And so the universe has truly been twisted by the Joker. His plan has finally come to fruition.
Jokes. He's the Joker.
You can't tell at all that I made up that game minutes before it started.
No, this was good. I wish that I had a head start at coming up with songs? The answer is yes. But this was fun.
Well, you did better than I would have done.
Well, thank you.
All right. I guess, do you have anything else to say about Joker Folie Deux?
No, I hope there's no more.
Joker Lisa Seydoux?
Yeah, Joker Lisa Seydoux. I'd be into that, maybe.
Well, why don't we review it? I don't remember what rating I gave Joker 1. I believe it was negative F times a billion. So let's review Joker Folie Deux. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
D.
C minus.
Wow, you somehow ended up higher than me. The Joker broke you.
Well, no, there's one thing I can say about this movie is that I think Joker 2 dislikes Joker 1 about as much as I do, and I respect that.
Very good. Very good. All right, John. Have you seen any more movies?
Can I just point out, we started this year and I said all I want to do is not watch Deadpool 3 or Joker 2 for this podcast. And we have somehow watched both of them.
But I guess on the bright side, we did keep at it. This is our most regular release schedule ever, I think. So that's good.
We're doing every other week. Which day of the week? That's for God to say.
That's for us to figure out next year.
That's next year's New Year's resolution. But we're still in October. Like you said, Veronica, what movies have you seen recently? Did you ask me or?
I asked you. Do you have any?
I actually seen a ton. I was traveling recently. I went home to New Jersey. I watched a bunch of movies with my parents. And then I came to New York and I watched Joker Folie Deux. I was spending so much money to be in New York and I used a little bit of that precious time to watch Folie Deux. But, God, so our last episode
was Chinatown.
Right. I had already seen My Old Ass, right? I talked about that in the last one?
Yes.
Okay. Then this starts here. I'm going to go through these quickly because I saw a bunch. I saw The Substance. The Substance, for me, I compare it very much to my experience watching Beau is Afraid, in that I loved all the ideas, I loved all the performances, and I loved all the visuals. I just wish it was less dragged out. I felt like Beau is Afraid could have had every shot cut in half. And this one just kind of wallows in each plot beat for so long that the power of how disgusting they are kind of begins to it dilutes the power. But I still greatly respect this movie. It's still a lot of fun to watch, but I wish it had sped things up a little bit. I finally saw Challengers. I thought Challengers was great. I had a great time watching Challengers. I saw The Beast. Speaking of Leah Seydoux, did I say Lisa Seydoux earlier?
No, I think you said Leah. I think.
Okay. Well, now I'm saying
apologies
Leah,
if you didn't.
Her name is definitely Leah. I saw The Beast. The Beast is very interesting. It's kind of like, it's 3 different time periods. It's kind of like 3 different movies. We get a sci-fi drama that I loved, a historical drama that I liked, and an Elliot Rodger incel slasher movie that I found a little tasteless. I don't really know how to feel about that one. A very interesting watch. My parents found it very boring. I go through so many movies that I know they'd enjoy, and they're like, nah, not that, not that, not that. Oh, the 3-hour weird sci-fi French movie? Yeah, let's do that one. Oh, you didn't like it? Shocker.
Was this in a theater? Or
No, we watched it at home. Well, we did watch in the theater, which my dad was really excited to see, is we went to see Megalopolis.
Ooh.
I told my parents, I'm like, I'm so down to see this, but just know this is not going to be like a good movie. And I tried to persuade them to go to a dispensary beforehand. They refused. Fortunately, I had my own edibles, so I had a slightly better time. Megalopolis, have you seen it yet?
I saw it. I'm going to talk about it.
Oh, you know what? Then here. Then I'll just stop right there and wait for you to catch up to it.
Okay.
I meant to ask. If you've seen it. We could have done a Joker Megalopolis Flopapalooza double feature episode.
I will say I am far more positive on Megalopolis than I am on Joker Folie. I thought it was very, very interesting. You described it as boring. I would not describe it as boring at all. It felt like fan fiction of Robert Moses, but in like the most positive way that I could think about it. It also felt like Francis Ford Coppola had so many ideas, and he really sensed that his time on Earth was running out, and he just put them all in one movie, despite maybe not all of them working together coherently in any way. But I really appreciated. I think like it looks really good at times. Like at other times, it looks like it was made by AI. I appreciated the dialogue, this choice to have very crazy stylistic dialogue for the most part. I liked it, I liked the choices that were made, and a lot of the time I liked that Aubrey Plaza's character was named Wow. That like the montage with he kind of had like the screen split in 3 and did like a montage. That was so cool to look at. I thought it was great. I thought there were a bunch of great ideas. It clearly doesn't hold up as a movie, but I appreciated the swing, and I appreciated the message. And I do wish that he gets to make more movies. And I am kind of sad that he sunk like that. It is like a laughing stock. It makes me sad for him. I hope he's okay. 'Cause, yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I think I appreciated the swing of Joker 2 more.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's okay. Here's the thing is that what I hated the most about Joker 1 was how pretentious it is. And Joker 2 is also really pretentious. But there's a thing about Megalopolis, which I agree with everything you're saying. There are moments that are so fun. I love that Aubrey Plaza and Shia LaBeouf are playing Batman villains much more so than anyone in the Joker movies. They are straight out of the Tim Burton Batman movies, and I really enjoyed that.
A lot of the production design is great, like Madison Square Garden reimagined as a Roman arena. I thought really cool. Like they have a lot of like references to Roman things. There's a lot of just like.
Oh, did they?
Well, no, but I meant like architecturally, like they sometimes are recontextualizing existing buildings within kind of Roman style that I thought was very cool. Like there's one scene where they walk down the street and you see all of these like fallen fallen statues in a bad neighborhood. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of cool stuff like that.
The thing that really puts me off, and it's a thing that I've always really disliked in any kind of work of art, I really hate when the author insert character is the smartest person on earth, and the whole movie is. Well, where the whole movie is like, why can't people just let me be a genius? And that is the vibe I got here. And I think there is also a problem when artists try to make their self-insert character of like the artist be someone who has a job that doesn't really connect to just being an artist, because being a city planner, why, sure, there is an art to architecture. Being a city planner is much more of a function job than a style job.
He's an urban designer, Jon. He's a visionary.
This is the hero of our movie.
He can stop time.
The hero of our movie knocks over a whole poor neighborhood before he's finished coming up with the idea of what's going to replace it. And we learn that they've just been homeless since then, waiting for Megalopolis. And we're supposed to be like, and then we have all these speeches from Giancarlo Esposito being like, we got to spend money on like hospitals and roads. And Adam Driver's like, no, we don't. And I'm like, I don't know. I think we do.
Well, that's why I mean that he is not the smartest man in the room. He is clearly cocky and wrong.
I don't think know that's if the movie thinks that.
Oh, you don't think that? Well, my favorite part about his process is that at one point they're designing buildings by having basically do like an actor warm-up where people climb over each other to simulate how easily it would be to move within Megalopolis.
Do you think Robert Moses didn't do improv games in his office?
Yeah, like clearly he designed the BQE after doing Zip Zap Zop. I get it. I leaned in to a friend who works at a developer office, and it was like, this is your process, right?
That part was stupid, but I loved his first version when we see that he's built a makeshift version of the city using just shit from around his office, like bottles and all that stuff. I thought that was really cool. There is cool stuff here. It's just...
Listen, I'm not
insane.
saying this movie is wonderful, but I'm saying it's insane in all the best ways. And if this movie was boring, I would have been way more sad. But it kind of feels like he has yeah. Anyway, I hope he gets to make more movies. Yeah. Maybe with like supervision. I don't know. But like he clearly
and Todd Phillips
cares.
should collaborate.
He clearly cares. Like, he cares about the world.
Yes.
He cares about the future. And, like, not in, like, a toxic cancel culture is bad way. But, like, he wants, like, to have people living in, like, good environments and be happy and, like, flourishing cities. And I can relate to that. I think it's great. Well, the movie is not great. The notion is great. And maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'll re-edit it. I don't know. We'll see.
Francis Ford Coppola re-editing a movie? Never been done.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with the movie.
But see it. Please see it if you can in a theater. Give this money back to Francis Ford Coppola.
I agree with the movie. We do need to have a great debate about the future. But, my favorite part about the movie is I walked out of the theater and the first thing I said was, this is the movie that Neil Breen would make if you gave him $120 million. And then the next day, some random guy followed me on Letterboxd, and I realized the only reason he followed me was that he had also written a review that this is what Neil Breen would make. And then that same day, the AV Club wrote an article saying the headline was like, Francis Ford Coppola has gone full Neil Breen or something. And I love that Neil Breen has become this well known that you could just use him as a comparison, because it really does feel like a Neil Breen movie, but with $120 million.
I've never seen any of his movies, so I don't really. I understand the reference in a way where I know he makes awful movies, but I will not accept it because this movie is not awful.
Veronica, you are, next time you come to visit LA, I'm going to make you watch Fateful Findings with me.
Oh boy.
And you will fully understand what everyone is talking about, how this is very much a Neil Breen movie.
All right, I'm open to it. Maybe there's another genius among us, and I'm happy to welcome them into my life.
Neil Breen movies, I have seen, 4 or 5 at this point. The Flophouse, the great bad movie podcast, did Fateful Findings, which is an amazing bad movie, a fascinating bad movie. And then they did a second one. I forget which one they did, but I remember at the end of the episode, I think it was Elliot Kalin, the host, said something like, I don't think we should do any more of these guys' movies. They're funny, but I think this guy might be a bad guy and he might be a dangerous, crazy person. And having watched 4 or 5 of them, yeah, maybe. He maybe thinks it would be a good idea if all the degenerates on Earth died. But and he's like a godlike figure who chooses who is a degenerate and who isn't. But so I'm joking about this. Not a full endorsement on Neil Breen, but a full endorsement on Fateful Findings, one of the greatest movies ever made.
Wow. All right. Well, speaking of other greatest movies ever made, I watched Disclosure for the first time. Have you ever seen it?
I have never. I've seen, obviously, the virtual reality scenes.
Oh, God. That
which
scene
I believe
is amazing.
OpenAI, they're almost got us there.
Okay, good. Thank God. I really want to search for my files inside Hogwarts, but looking for like random anachronistic filing cabinets and physically rummaging through them. That is truly the ease with which computers can help us.
Veronica, you want to know
lives.
Something crazy?
Mm-hmm.
That future like Hogwarts that Michael Douglas goes through in that movie, made entirely out of Megalon.
Wow. So it's good for the environment. That's good.
Yeah. But is it dangerous? No. Megalon is not dangerous.
It's made out of a dead woman's hair.
Or spirit, maybe?
Well, there's physical hair involved, but yes, maybe spirit. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Go see Megalopolis. It's great. Disclosure. I thought it was fun. It was very fun. It's very of its time. And I wanted more sex, but it was entertaining. And then I guess a bit of I feel like we started high and then we're like heading south. I saw Wolves, the misspelled George Clooney, Brad Pitt hander. Anyway, it's very meh. It's like not fun. It seems like the only lesson they took from Ocean's 11 about their chemistry is that like, oh, it's fun when they bicker. But like they still have to bicker in a fun way. This is just them usually insulting each other. And it wasn't fun. And also not enough sex. So yeah, maybe don't see that one.
Speaking of Ocean's 11, just 2 other movies I saw this past couple weeks. I finally saw Blowout for the first time, and then I saw Out of Sight for the first time. Fun.
Really?
Yeah, I'd never seen Out of Sight. Can you believe it? It was fun, but I gotta say, in the Ray Nicoletta-verse of Elmer Leonard adaptations featuring Michael Keaton as Ray Nicolette, I'm a Jackie Brown man.
Of course.
Out of Sight's fun, but I'm a Jackie Brown man. But it was fun. I was very surprised at the end of Out of Sight when suddenly Nancy Allen appears because I had just seen Blowout. And then I was very surprised in Joker 2 when Catherine Keener appears because I'd just seen Out of Sight.
Aw, look at you. You are like a little Hollywood connection game.
Well, now that you've watched Disclosure, you got to go see The Substance.
I want to see The Substance. I will see it. It's like 3 hours or something. So I really need to find the time to do it.
Is it 3 hours? It feels long, which is my main criticism.
I don't think it's exactly 3 hours, but I think it is like an hour, 160 minutes or so.
It is 2 hours, 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you gotta set up some time for it. I can't go too late. I'll fall asleep. I'm old. So, need to figure it out.
A huge amount of that movie, though, is either nude Demi Moore or nude Margaret Qualley. So that, helps with the runtime.
That's good. All right.
That's the message. That's definitely the message of the movie. Look at these hot naked ladies.
What substance is making them hot, hot, hot? Well, isn't that sort of the point, right? No?
Well, I think it's about aging, particularly aging as a woman, and
sure, but it's about maintaining that hotness. All right.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm sure it's more subtle. Do you want to find out?
To its credit, the substance is not subtle, and that's what I like about it. It is very aggressively not subtle, and I don't like subtlety. I don't think in crazy satires, give me an unsubtle premise and then blow it the fuck out. That's what I like.
Is this the person who made Raw?
Is it maybe Carly Fargal made?
No. Oh, she did
Revenge, which I never saw.
Never mind. No, I haven't seen it either. Anyway, not important. Cool. I'll see it.
Well, what will we both see in our next episode?
Okay, so it is between another Brad Pitt movie, Fury, that military movie I never watched.
Oh, another Shia LaBeouf movie.
Oh, boy. Okay. Shark Tale. Remember Shark Tale?
Oh, God.
The one where all the fish looked like the humans?
Yes.
Ooh. There's Pulp Fiction. That is from 94. We have Teachers. I don't know what that is. Yeah,
from 84?
It's a comedy drama. A well-meaning but burnt-out high school teacher tries to maintain order against the backdrop of a pending lawsuit against a school district when it comes to light that they gave a diploma to an illiterate student. It would never happen in the year 2024. So there's that. There is a lot of musicals. So there's Cabaret, a reissue of Cabaret from 74. There's
I watched Cabaret for the first time recently.
I love the musical. I don't think I ever watched the movie all the way through. A Shot in the Dark, one of the Pink Panther sequels, and A Star is Born. Not the Lady Gaga version.
Is it the Judy Garland version? Oh, no.
No, it's the Judy Garland and James Mason version.
We could do a memorial Chris Christopherson viewing of A Star is Born.
So it would be one of those.
Yes. Okay. Well, I wish they were doing anniversary screenings of Pulp Fiction at the Vista, which I live near.
I mean, they're literally showing Pulp Fiction like every month at the New Beverly.
Yeah, maybe. But I do think watching a Shark Tale would be very funny.
Oh boy! Oh, they are actually showing it at the Vista tonight and tomorrow.
I gotta go. All right. I'm getting work messages because we're recording this during the day. I don't think either of us told our bosses that we were taking a 2-hour podcast break. So are you feeling, are you too twisted to go back to the regular world, Veronica? Are you too jokered up?
I don't know how we can live in a world where what's his name? Albert Fleck or Arthur Fleck? I can't even do the joke because I don't remember his fucking name. Where Arthur Fleck is not Joker. I know that he's not the Joker. But is there a Joker? John, tell me there is a Joker.
Veronica. You're looking at him. My Joker's a witch.
Yeah, he's like the Wicked Witch of the West. Oh my God, do you think Wicked is also a Joker movie?
Yep. It's gonna end with it's gonna end with Edith Hamilton just shanking the witch and going, "You're not the real witch."
Okay, I'm gonna book my tickets now. All right, bye. Toot
Bye. Toot toot, says the Joker.
Toot toot, says Harley Quinn.
Bye.
Oh boy.